Recently, the check engine light on this Cadillac CTS came on. A few seconds after starting the car shaked. The StabiliTrak light on the instrument cluster came on, and then after a few more seconds, the check engine light came on. In this video, I diagnose what happened, what could cause this, and I go over a few fixes, and I share the fix that worked on this car. When the check engine light came on, I shut the car down and then restarted it. After the restart, the check engine light was still on, but the car no longer shook. I took the car for a short neighborhood drive and did not notice anything wrong with the car. There were no performance issues whatsoever. It seemed to operate just fine. Okay, you can see the location of the check engine light there. You can see the location of the StabiliTrak, which is right over there, which is the same symbol as this one. So anytime a check engine light is on, you need to get the car scanned using an OBDII scan code tool. They're cheap, readily available, and the OBDII stands for onboard diagnostics. I scanned it right after the incident, and I got the P0300 code, which is a fairly generic code and difficult to pinpoint any fixes as it is too broad. The P0300 means a random multiple cylinder misfire. So for example, if it gave the code P030001, that would mean it's a cylinder 1 misfire, which makes it a lot easier to go after and fix it. So these types of tools are actually very easy to actually figure out and install, right? So if you look down here, there's a code, there's a reader down there. You see it? And all we got to do is stick that in there and just follow the instructions that come along with your OBDII reader. And then usually any of these, even the very simple ones, usually come with a little booklet with all the codes. And again, it doesn't have to be specific for Cadillac. They're not, these things are not made for specific for Cadillac. They're made for all cars that have this type of code reader, and many of the modern era cars do have it. It's called an OBDII code reader. And the booklet comes with a number of all the codes, and it gives you a starting point to start to diagnose what could be wrong with your car. And the code would appear on this screen right here. And sometimes you may get multiple codes. Before I go any further, remember I also said that the StabiliTrak light came on. So when the car realizes that there is a problem, it tries to remove some of the extra features such as the StabiliTrak. The car's computer wants to keep the car drivable, and it doesn't need the StabiliTrak to do so. So the computer shuts down the StabiliTrak, and that's why the StabiliTrak light was on. There's nothing wrong with the StabiliTrak on this car. It was just turned off by the car's computer as a precautionary measure. So the focus on fixing this issue isn't on the StabiliTrak, it's on solving the P0300 code, and that's what we're going to do. For the generic misfire code, the P0300, there are a few simple things to first think about. The P0300, as I said earlier, is a generic code for something broad impacting multiple parts of the car. So let's start simple. First, did you just gas up the car? Bad fuel can cause a random misfire. If so, try adding fresh fuel to dilute any of the bad fuel that may be in the fuel tank. It can be as simple as that. Bad fuel can certainly cause the P0300 to turn on. Second is the age of your battery, and I'll get to this a little later. The other reasons and more complicated reasons for a P0300 code will be triggered and has to do with spark plugs, injectors, coils. Now remember, you need multiple of these to go wrong at the same time. It's possible, but I would pass over these and save these as a last resort. It can also be vacuum lines. These vacuum lines are necessary and critical part of any engine operation. If there's a crack in any of these lines, you could trigger a P0300 code. Before you start diagnosing, ask yourself, was the car recently serviced? As sometimes mechanic may need to loosen some of the vacuum lines to access parts, and then the mechanic forgets to tighten the vacuum line or doesn't tighten it enough. Another check is to see if there are any rodent damage in your engine bay. Rodents are known to chew on rubber lines and can cause vacuum leaks. The problem is a bad fuel pump. Bad fuel pumps can go bad, and bad fuel pumps are hard to diagnose unless they're completely dead. So for this car, it was operating flawlessly up to the incident. So although the car at this point is about 13 years old, it has relatively low mileage at about 100,000 kilometers or about 70,000 miles. So I was hesitant to go fiddling around with the spark plugs, the injectors, and the engine coils. So I focused on this thing right here, the battery. A battery that is going bad will not be providing the car in its computer with the exact power it needs to operate properly, and it can cause a variety of problems, including the P0300 code. I've owned this car for the last 8 years, and the battery has never been changed before the incident. The battery worked fine to start the car and never gave any other noticeable problem. I didn't even bother testing it. I just replaced it. When replacing the battery, the check engine light turns off. The battery has now been changed 9 months ago from today, and the check engine light has never returned, and the car has run as good as ever. These batteries located in the trunk last longer than those in the hood because they are protected from the elements. A battery should last somewhere between 3 to 5 years with an average of about 4 years. And in colder climates, you know, it shouldn't last you longer than 5 years. So at 8 years, the battery was certainly due for a change. The moral here is that sometimes the fix isn't complicated at all. A battery change, besides poor gas, is the easiest fix of them all for a P0300 code. Start simple and then look into the more complicated things afterwards. But hopefully your simple fixes is where it stops. On the screen, you'll see a complete CTS battery install video. Please consider subscribing to the Handy Val channel for more Cadillac DIY videos. Thanks for watching, and bye for now. Handy Val.